All right, so what do I think of grifters going after Capcom? Now, full disclosure, I know that Capcom was never perfect in the past. They put out games that even I felt a little bit iffy on. You would go back in the past and you'll find out that my original review for Operation Raccoon City, I gave that game an F. I thought that 2012 through, I want to say, 2016, that dark age time period was the worst age Capcom ever had. They were releasing either a lot of mid games, a lot of games due to excessive outsourcing that wasn't really up to quality standards, and even in-house games like your Resident Evil 6s of the world was not received spectacularly well with the audience. Like, Resident Evil 6 was a very, very mixed and polarizing game, and even on paper you think of crazy ideas like Leon and Chris finally meeting. In Resident Evil, you see Wesker's son, Jake Mueller. That's a plot point that sounds super crazy that they leaked in the trailer, but I digress. Stuff like that where you see very heavier themes and plot points, and Chris has amnesia and he's trying to kill Carla Radimus. It sounds all cool on paper, but in execution it kind of felt sloppy, big, and bloated. A year later, we dealt with these games in 2013. There was also the DMC reboot, which is probably one of the worst character assassinations of Dante I think I ever seen in my entire life, with Dante and Virgil being complete useless squares. Like, I'm telling you, the characterization of that game was very awful and I did not like it at all. Also, just miss after miss after miss, bad business after bad business after bad business practice, dealing with the fact that we had Umbrella Corps, the worst online multiplayer piece of shit I think I ever played in my entire life. And that is a testament, honestly, because I played some pretty broken multiplayer experiences before, but that takes the cake. I would rather play Resident Evil Reverse than to play Umbrella Corps ever again. Why am I making this statement? Why am I making this statement now? It's because for some reason grifters think that Capcom is they're all on BlackRock, DEI, all the typical stupid buzzwords that come out of these people's mouths like a fucking dick going into a hooker's like vagina. It is the funniest thing in the world when I see it. And one thing they don't seem to note is that, yes, companies can change. And they can change either for the worst or for the better. And for Capcom's case, the worst was in the year 2012, where they weren't releasing great titles, where they were, the future of the company was kind of like on this whole kick of Inafune wants to westernize Capcom to the point where he believes that this philosophy will bring them up from some sort of success and make things better. And it just turned out to be a dud. It was an idea that did not work. Dark Void didn't really work out for Capcom. A lot of other ideas didn't really work out. Even, I would say, going back from that, like a little bit back in time, where they tried to do the gritty reboots, your gritty Bionic Commando reboots and shit like that, and that really didn't pan out too well. And I played that game and I was like, part of me was like, I kind of like it and I kind of hate it at the same time, right? I don't know why. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with that game, but that's besides the point. Companies can change for the better. They decided to get their ass in gear sometime around 2017, I want to say. And they said, you know what? We fucked up. We decided to have excessive outsourcing with our projects and products, and we're going to try to mitigate this problem. No more Ninja Theory. Everything's going to be in-house, and we're going to work on it, and we're going to try to do the best we can with the studios that we are working with currently, and we'll go from there. in 2017, they released Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and after playing that game, it was very solid. I loved it. It was super fantastic, atmospheric, great. Going back to roots. That's going to be really important for companies that do tend to fuck up occasionally and go back to roots, because that's the safe bet, is to go back to roots. Then after that, Capcom became a monster of pumping out quality. It is insanity. I think the biggest turn was when they released Resident Evil 2 Remake, and that blew everybody away. So it's easy to go after the person that is popular at the time being. One thing that we do know is that Capcom releases great games currently. They've been on a streak and they have not been stopping. They're like the Undertaker, all right? They are like the Undertaker. And even the Undertaker lost the streak. I do believe that this slew of like super great games coming out, time in, time out, your 9s, sometimes 10s, sometimes 8s, sometimes 7s, all that stuff that Capcom is getting. I do believe that one day, even in this modern and present era of them doing really great games and content, I think that the streak is going to come to an end. It will end sometime. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but it definitely will end, and you might see that one Capcom title that gets like a 6 or a 5. I don't know about a 4, maybe a 4, you never know, but you're gonna see that in one review for one Capcom game, and everybody's gonna be like, Capcom fell off, it's all over, they're washed. You know, the typical bullshit that people do, because apparently if you're making a giant franchise, or if you're making like multiple franchises like Capcom did, you just can't have one game that's like kind of mid in your category, right? The streak is broken, apparently. It's the end of the world. I'm so glad that I don't think like these people. I don't think that one game is going to plummet Capcom into the ground. I think more than likely, if they return to their 2012 roots, if they keep pumping out bad game after bad game, bad outsource after bad outsource, then we'll have a relevant discussion and debate to say Capcom's quality has declined yet again after their first and second restructure, because I keep forgetting they restructured like 2 times, which was crazy, right? Then we have to think about the logic here. You know, because some grifters can't be nuanced. We have to think about the logic here. When someone does restructure for the better, and we are seeing this a little tiny bit with Konami, I thought the philosophy was, if you're getting consistently good updates or good games, at least in Capcom's expense, that's usually a good thing after a restructure. That's ideal after a restructure. The reviews for Silent Hill 2 Remake are looking pretty stellar so far, at least, well, you know, the first impression reviews for the first 3 hours. I have to specify that because, again, people can't read or pay attention these days. It's kind of hard, but still, you know, it's kind of hard for them to pay attention. But the first impression reviews that we got for the first 3 hours are really shaping up to be super good, and that shows that, hey, they're bringing back stuff like older Castlevania games. They're bringing back some quality endearment with Silent Hill. Maybe things will look up for them after their restructure. But people want to still grift on a positive restructure, and I've seen so much, and I've seen plenty, and I'm gonna go by the bullet points here. I know some people were happy that Insuno left the company, and Insuno left Capcom. Devil May Cry is dead. All right. So as I said before, Resident Evil had Shinji Mikami leave. Street Fighter had Yoshinori Ono. He left the company. So he's gone. The prime guy behind Street Fighter is there no more. Yoshinori Ono. I hope I said his name right. Again, I fell it. pronouncing Japanese, but still, forgive me. You know who the guy is. You know who Ono is. You've seen him before. He's not there anymore. There's more people that probably have left in certain creative positions within Capcom. And you know what? Guess what's doing well? Street Fighter. Street Fighter 6 is amazing. All right. It's doing well financially and review wise. So that's already great without Ono being there. Resident Evil, great without Mikami being there. He's been gone forever now, and the path they went into ultimately has new creative heads and figures going forward. Fucking Inafune is gone. Now, they did make Mega Man 11 after that, and that was pretty stellar, actually. I played that game before. So Inafune is gone, but they made a great Mega Man game after he left. I think you're just fear-mongering if you're saying DMC is dead without Insuno being there. Yes, Insuno was very important, but we already had IPs where they continued on without the original creator, so understand that. Monster Hunter Wilds, people were saying that, oh, well, the game is now woke because you have no gender restrictions on your armor. And I thought that was really fucking stupid. I'm like, all right, what if I grinded my way all the way up and I wanted some dragon armor or something, and I had the male character, but I wanted to swap it out, make a new save or whatever, start over, and use that same grinded up level 80 armor on my female character. I can't do that because it's gender restricted, right? But somehow idiots like Mark Kern and stuff like that misinterpreted that and thought that it was some politics behind it, when it's just like it makes it easier on the player to wear the armor that they had. If they are a different character, they can now wear that same armor on the opposite sex. It changes nothing. People believing that the blacksmith was like completely absent in the last trailer and she's there. It's like, oh, the hotties are gone because Capcom made this whole new hunter, even though you can create customizable hunters in the game. Now it's just like, oh, the hotties are gone. Capcom's hunter is the only one that is replacing that. You can create your own hunter however beautiful or terrible looking that you want them to be. Resident Evil 4 Remake, people grifting saying that, well, Ashley Panties is now gone. It's a problem. Leon can't upskirt, whatever. The game is like at a 93 meta and fucking so astronomically, showing that people don't really give a fuck about what you're saying about Ashley's upskirts, and you're truly in the minority at this rate. Dead Rising Remaster. Now, I don't like the pathos removal of Cliff's dialogue saying that Frank is a mole, but I don't really care too much about erotica points or any of that jazz. And what makes this worse is that the game is still pretty much sexualized even without the tag. You see Isabella bending over to the point where she even says, look at someone's ass, which is like part of the dialogue in Dead Rising Remaster, which is kind of fucking funny. But she's hot. Jesse is like still very good looking. This amounts to crying about nothing, and I think Capcom's response was very modest when they said, you can still take perverted pictures in the game if you want to, it's just going to be unflared. And that's, that's fine. You want to be a goofy like perv or whatever, you can totally do that. It's like in your free will to do so. Nobody is taking that away. But you see, complaining about the small mundane thing and then exaggerating that into the game is the worst thing in the world, it doesn't make any sense, because the quality standards are going to be like, what is the gameplay like, what are the graphics like, what is the voice acting like, and you're leaving all those other questions on the cutting room floor. Street Fighter 6, I've seen people complain about Cammy wearing yoga pants and that being woke, and then a couple of weeks later they had a trailer for the classic outfits, so if you want to see Cammy in a leotard, you totally could at that point just buy the fucking costume and stop complaining. Dragon's Dogma 2, oh, there's optional micros. We know Capcom does this shit all the time. They did it with DMC4, they did it with DMC5, they had optional unlock keys where it's like, here's the option for the casual gamer who will tell you, I don't have time to grind 100 hours in a game. I don't have time to grind 1,000 hours. The hardcore gamer who wants to unlock all that stuff on a playthrough, go ahead, explore. The casual who wants to go ahead and buy a key unlock to open up something that'll take you like probably 10 hours, they can do that, but they're paying to do it. And you're like, oh, well, you know, this is bad for gaming and the industry and all that other stuff. It doesn't affect you. It in no way bothers you in any shape or form if you can unlock all the stuff given in the store from the game itself after enough time. You can call them scrubs and all that other stuff, but I don't think that the casual person really cares to get into the comment section with the hardcore gamers or really like chat it up to a supreme degree with the hardcore gamers. They want to get in, get out, it's done. They know next to little information about some of these releases. They're not us, they're not the hardcore people, and it doesn't bother me if I can unlock fucking 6 million red orbs in like the span of like 2 playthroughs in DMC5. I'm pretty much straight versus the person constantly paying for red orbs. It's like it's so much. And then there's the positive. Capcom is bringing back old fighting games, digital preservation. I thought that was very positive and important to highlight and touch upon. Oh no, wait, it's always the negative. It's always just, oh god, they changed Larry. They changed Larry. They did the worst thing in the world. Oh god, the Steam numbers are mighty low for Dead Rising, even though what these people don't seem to take into account when they make arguments like this is that Steam is not the only platform that Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is on. It's on the fucking PlayStation, it's on the fucking Xbox, and we're getting physical copies in November, and those sales are also going to count to the final lifetime sale total after a few years. Because remember, DMC5, it was at, I want to say, it was at 3 million, 4 million for the longest time. And then it boosted all the way up after like 1 or 2 years to like 7 million, 8 million. It didn't even take way too long to get up to that point. So it's like, you're judging this based on sales and you don't know this number. You're judging this off of Steam like charts and shit like that, and you don't know the number from consoles. You don't know what the final lifetime sales number is going to be, and you don't know what Capcom's sales expectation is for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, because remember, every company has a sales expectation target. It could be any number. Capcom themselves can say like, we want 1 million copies for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and that's it. That's enough to consider it a success, and I know if they consider this game to be a success, it's gonna be like Hiroshima for grifters. Only when the company comes out and says something is below our sales expectations in the fiscal year, that's when something did not sell well. When they say that something is low expectations in the fiscal year, then it really didn't sell well according to them. That's the first thing you should look out for. But saying this from fucking Steam charts on the internet, dude, you have no iota of what they're looking for at all. It could be any number from their sales targets, and you're looking just at one platform only, and this makes you sound really fucking stupid if you don't factor in PlayStation or Xbox. And I know you don't know these numbers, but you have to be aware that Steam is not the only fucking platform that sells Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. This is pure idiocy when people make these comments. Pure lunacy when people make these comments. And I know somehow in your fragile mind you really cannot handle or take the truth, but the truth is there. We will find out when Capcom tells us, and when they tell us if the game did well or not, we will know. The last thing is that people tend to pretend that low sales figures and quality is mutually exclusive, and that is definitely not the case whatsoever. Case in point, Japan Studio, all right? Japan Studio, you know, the main thing that people kind of go at PlayStation for, oh, you know, you should have revived Japan Studio or whatever, etc. It is proven numbers with some of their games that they flopped, all right? Japan Studio used to make really, really, really great games, really fun games, really unique games, really original games, but they were not pulling in massive numbers compared to a Spider-Man, a God of War, a Last of Us. No, they weren't. And for some reason, people like to say that, oh, well, you know, if the game didn't sell well, that's just trash. But they would never say that for Sony Japan, ever. They would never say it. It shows that this argument is very fickle and dumb. You could say it for film as well. Let's see, Blade Runner 2049, really great fucking movie, didn't do well in the box office. Folks didn't go see it and support it. Oh god, the MCU, oh my god, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I gotta talk about that. Why are they putting in so much slop in the movie theaters? I want to support original IPs and good sequels and true cinema. You know, that same jazz that these idiots say on social media, and it drives you up a fucking wall, because it's like, why did you not go see The Creator or Furiosa or any of those movies that were really great and true cinema as you claim? You know, the last Ridley Scott movie that came out, I think it was The Last Night or whatever, the Green Knight, I don't know, whatever the fuck, whatever movie he complained about that he said millennials was like on their phones and shit and they didn't go see it. I heard that movie was pretty good and people didn't go see it. Like, people just like to talk and grandstand, and when it's really important, they don't put their money where their mouths are at times. And there's other times where it's like, okay, yeah, this thing really did well. Okay, yeah, this other thing really didn't do well, but you're complaining about X, Y, and B and trying to make some correlation where it doesn't make sense. Sales does not mean that the quality of a project is always bad. It does not mean that at all. It could be a variety of factors why a movie failed. It could be a variety of factors as to why a game failed, and it's not probably because of the quality rant that you're trying to make. It's probably due to something else. I doubt it's probably due to your, everything's internally politicized or whatever, get woke, go broke, when we've seen woke games before, like Spider-Man 2 do very, very well. So that's get woke, go broke sometimes. As the Birdman says, get woke, go broke sometimes when some of that stuff fails. And then there's other times where it doesn't, and you move swiftly along and you talk about something else. you basically say, I'm gonna be crickets on this subject if it sells well and reviews well, but if it has low sales, I think, in my opinion, it's a failure. It's a failure, it's not good, blah blah blah. These arguments are dumb and they need to stop. And my overall point is that until the streak is broken and the more Capcom keeps delivering on very good games, I'm gonna be there to play them, just like Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. But until then, all this bickering and pointless psychobabble and all this other stuff, it is a good reason why I don't care about grifting in terms of taking them seriously in the first place. I'm Renegade Operative. I'm signing out. Also, PS, I have to say this for the kids wearing the dunce caps in the back. I'm not saying that 2024 Capcom is perfect. They're in the best position they can be right now. They're doing better than 2012 Capcom. I thoroughly believe that 100%, and my mind cannot be changed otherwise. Is there some stumbling blocks that they had? Sure. There is a Resident Evil, notion out there where the Resident Evil multiplayers that they created has not stuck the landing on maintaining high player retention. There's also the fact that, yes, Resident Evil 3 Remake did not have more of a higher score than RE2 Remake. It got lower scores because it lacked content, and a lot of people kind of just cited that and they weren't too happy about that, and that I understand, but overall it is still a solid game to play, and it fixed a lot of gameplay mechanics that were issues with the original, like the dodge mechanic. Of course, naturally speaking, it got blowback, but it still got 7s and 8s, and it sold really well, so it is successful. It is what it is. Exoprimal, people were dogging on that game a bit. I like Exoprimal. I thought Exoprimal was fun, but people were dogging on that. Got 7s, got like nearly $2 million of revenue. Capcom deemed it as a successful game. So, I mean, it is what it is. They had some stumbling blocks, but this is the best they've ever been so far. And I would prefer it this way than 2012 Capcom. Because that was really bad. 2012, 2013, their darkest years in general.